Today is our second opportunity to try this technology and really focus in on the live streaming component. And I'm really grateful that we do have this in place and that we're just kind of working on figuring it out as we go. So today will be a little bit different than last Sunday, and I'm sure next Sunday will be different than today. But I am here with our musician Pablo, at least 6 feet away from each other. We're doing social distancing. We've got Dave in the sound booth and a couple of people in the chapel here. We're going to have a little bit scaled back service today. It's going to be a little different with participation remotely, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you for being here, and this is our first thing in our lifetimes to have a pandemic announced to this degree and severity, so to speak. So we're fortunate that it's going to be temporary, even though it may be a long time. It's still a temporary thing in comparison to our spiritual life, which is timeless. And we are being protected by the Lord spiritually all the time. So we are in the embrace of the Lord in a safe way, and He is leading us and guiding us. I'm thinking of all of you, not just all of you here in this room, but all of you from wherever you are, at home, sheltering in place, whether you're here today or watch the recording, thinking of everybody and praying for the Lord's blessing. Thinking of those who have been touched personally by the coronavirus, and even those whose families have lost loved ones because of that. Thinking of caregivers on the front lines and praying for their safety and health. Thinking and praying for everyone who's behind the scenes and everyone in our congregation, wherever you are. So it's not going to be business as usual having a service like this, but I'm working on making it interpersonal, and in future sessions we might even have more call-in kinds of features. But what I want to emphasize right now is just the question of what can we do? What can we do to help? What can we as a congregation do in these times where we're uncertain about how things are going to work out? I think the main thing, and this is just a 3-word sentence, is to keep in contact with each other. Obviously, we need to keep in contact safely, but staying in contact. I encourage everyone to just pick up the phone and call somebody else in the congregation. If everybody calls somebody else in the congregation every day, that could make a big difference in our sense of togetherness and community. One of my friends defined hope as love stretching into the future. I think that's a wonderful phrase and something to remember. Hope is love stretching into the future. We love each other. We want the best for each other. We're hoping for a good resolution to this challenge, and we want to send out our love and hope to everyone. So with that, I'd like to introduce Pablo to help us with the first song. Well, actually, there are 2 things that I forgot, so I'm just going to mention them. Here's a picture up on the screen that says, if you can't go outside, go inside. And I think that's an important thing. Even if we can't be together in a physical way, we can be together in an internal spiritual way. So that's why we're here today in worship, to be able to connect with the Lord and with each other in spite of the distances. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you is just the congratulations for new life. In our family, we had a grandson. His name is Ari Benjamin, and he was born on Monday last week. 4 pounds, 4 ounces, so premature by about 6.5 weeks. He's doing great. The parents are doing great, David and Christy. And it's just something to think about, the hope that we have for anybody, everybody coming into this world and being able to make a difference as time goes on. So let's go ahead and we'll sing our first song. Now, this two songs that we have today are both by Dickon Lee, a good friend of ours from Glenview and a brother of a member of our congregation, Ken Lee. And Dickon has written a lot of wonderful songs. This is one that we're familiar with. It's called Myriad.
See all the stars in the heavens, dance through the night with the moon. Everyone different, each one unique, created just like me and you. See all the birds in the forest, robins and sweet chickadees. Everyone different, each one unique, created just like you and me. Moment to moment and day by day, the magic of life is renewed. Choices we make teach us lessons of love if we offer our hearts to the truth. See all your friends gather round you, doing the best that they can. Everyone different, each one unique, all perfect parts in the plan. Everyone different, each one unique, all perfect parts in the plan. Your salvation. I will listen to what God the Lord says. He promises peace to his people. Let us pray. O Lord, our heavenly Father, Jesus Christ. Lord, we know we are spiritual beings inhabiting physical bodies. We know that spiritual work doesn't stop just because of interruptions in our day-to-day lives. In fact, we know that from your teachings that you are very close to us in times of challenge and trial, working with us to grow more mature spiritually. Now, it sometimes seems, Lord, that you're not very close. I just pray that you help us believe differently, because I know you never leave us, you never forget us. You don't take vacations from working with us. It's not like you're busy with some other planet in the universe. You didn't leave a pot boiling here and came back and found out that there was some kind of trouble brewing you didn't realize. No, Lord. Help us to believe that you are always looking to bring good out of
every situation, no matter how challenging. Give us good qualities that you know we need: courage, persistence, intelligence, goodwill, creativity, wisdom, and especially love. Love for you, love for taking care of ourselves, and love for others and how we can serve in whatever way possible. Amen. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, And forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Okay, now what we're going to try to do for the children's portion of the service is to welcome a reader remotely. I'm going to call Mr. Ken Lee, and I'm going to put him on the speaker. And I'm going to put myself on mute as soon as we get ready here. And Ken is going to read the lesson from the story of Exodus, the manna in the wilderness. Are you ready, Ken?
Yep. From Exodus 16. The whole Israelite...
Wait.
On the 15th day, second month after they had come out of Egypt.
Oh, okay. Oops. Technology. We're working on it.
Hello?
Okay, I think I need you to start over again. All right.
Sorry, ready?
Yes.
From Exodus 16. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they follow my instructions." That evening, the quail came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to one another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, "It is the bread of the Lord he has given you to eat."
So this is a portion especially dedicated to the children who are watching. And today I want to ask about this story. What is it? What does it mean? What is it? The story of the Israelites wandering through the wilderness so many years ago is a story that resonates with us whenever we feel like we're in the wilderness, wondering what to do, and how is the Lord trying to lead us towards the good that he's promised us. And the question is to be asking curiously, what does the Lord want for us, or what is the Lord providing for us that we can, take and do something with? So the story is where the children of Israel are looking around, and they've been told by Moses to find something on the ground, pick it up, and grind it into some sort of a flour-like substance, and then cook it. And when they first look around for it, they wonder, what is it? What is it? What is it? Well, perhaps they were wondering what they were looking for, and perhaps the Lord was not, was helping them to try to figure out what it was. But once they finally determined that it was this small round thing that was like on the ground in the morning in place of the dew, then they were told by Moses, this is the bread of God that has been rained down from heaven. And so pick it up and gather it every day, gather some, and then cook it and eat it. It's the bread the Lord has provided for you. But they had to ask that question, what is it? And be able to find it and try to figure out what to do with it. I think that's an important message, that question, what is it? And actually, the word manna means, what is it? So whenever we say, oh, it's the manna, it is the, what is it? And that question is important no matter what time period we're in, whether it's old, now, or in the future. The question is, what is it? That's an important question to ask. Now, I have a bag here of a couple of things my wife put together, and I'm going to just pull out each one at a time and ask, what is it? What is it? Now, you might not be able to see this on your screen from a distance, but this is a grapefruit. It's a delicious looking grapefruit. What is it? It's something the Lord provides for us. It's something nourishing, something that we can take into our bodies and it can help us survive. I wonder what the next thing is. What is it? That's a good question. It's a marker. It's a marker that you can use to write stuff down. Write a list of things to do. Write a note to a friend. It's a way of being connected to people. And there are so many different ways of being connected, whether it be very physical like this or something more electronic or even spiritual. Let's see, what's the third thing? What is it? Well, it's a hammer. The Lord gives us all kinds of jobs to do, things to help us serve other people. The Lord gives us ways of working with things, with people, with technology. And this is something the Lord gives us to do anytime, whether it's a crisis or whether things are going well or whether we're just having a good time having fun. So the question I have today, what is it, is a question of curiosity. It's a question that helps everybody try to figure out not only what to do in the good times, but also what to do in difficult times. Scientists ask, what is it? And what is the solution to a problem that we have? Mathematicians ask, what is it? Astronomers ask, what is it? And by asking and being curious, the Lord can give us information, insight, and a sense of direction, especially when it comes to things that happen to us that are terminal. Why did somebody die? What is it? The Lord gives us an answer, that there is life on the other side. And even though we may suffer and even our bodies might die, the Lord answers that what is it question by saying, we live on. And the power of our spirit is more important than anything else. Amen. And now I'm going to see if I can get Ken back on the phone, and he'll do a second reading for us, which has to do with divine providence. So here we are, ready to go on this second reading from Divine Providence.
Okay, from Secrets of Heaven. Those who trust in the divine, though concerned about the morrow, are unconcerned, in that they are not anxious, let alone worried, when they give thought to the morrow. They remain even-tempered, whether or not they realize their desires. And they do not grieve over loss, They are content with their lot. They know that for those who trust in the divine, all things are moving towards an everlasting state of happiness. And that no matter what happens at any time to them, it contributes to that state. Blessed are those who hear the word of the Lord and keep it.
Thanks to Ken. Now I'd like to shift my attention to the topic, an extension of the same topic that I was talking about, but more about acceptance in particular, and the idea of practicing acceptance. First of all, I'd like to ask this question. When was the last time you struggled with acceptance? Let's just take a moment and think about that. When was the last time? It could have been yesterday, it could have been earlier today. A big one could have been a month ago and you dealt with it and you moved on. When was the last time you struggled with acceptance? So what does it mean to be accepting of something? Here's a down-to-earth example. You look up here on the chancel, and you have this object up here. What is this? What is that object? It's a rock. Well, don't you all agree? There's no defensiveness about that. There's no argument. There's nothing negative about saying, this is a rock. We just humbly accept it. The challenge is when we have something that we're trying to accept and we get all wrapped up with negativity about it. The negative reactions are what make acceptance difficult. If we add a dimension of negativity, negative thoughts, negative feelings, then it's hard to accept. I want to suggest that there are a number of places in the Bible where people deal with acceptance and struggle with it. Think about Moses. When he's first called, he's in this wilderness area, he sees a burning bush, and he says, who am I to lead these people? He goes through a series of questions with the Lord, and finally, after quite a bit of convincing, he accepts his responsibility, his call. But it wasn't without a lot of challenge. Was Jesus accepting of his challenge? Well, he spent 40 days in the wilderness. We know that he went through great trial. And yet we also know that he accepted his call and worked tirelessly throughout his ministry in order to do what he was called to do. And then the disciples. The disciples, yes, they were accepting of their call, but towards the end of the Lord's life, were they accepting of what the Lord told them that they would be doing after, what the Lord told them about his end of life? They were not accepting. They were defensive. They reacted negatively. And yet, once the Lord accomplished his goals, then they were accepting. They were able to rejoice in the acceptance of what the Lord had done. It's so easy to fight acceptance. It's easy to fight what is and wish that it would be different. Here's an example. When we find ourselves railing at the state of the world, we are getting far away from serenity. But you might well ask, shouldn't we be indignant at the terrible state of things? And the answer is, your indignation does no good unless it leads to some positive action. Failing that positive action, Let go and learn to accept things as they are. This can bring you a peace of mind and makes you a power for good. So what does it mean to be accepting in a good spiritual way? I think it has to do with sincere humility. I think not humility as in being a doormat or getting run over, but humility as recognizing that all life comes from God. God has a plan for us. God's plan involves eternal happiness. Spiritual humility is accepting God's goodness, God's love, God's wisdom, and timeless power. I think of this, that choosing wholeheartedness is acceptance. Choosing something with wholehearted love and wisdom instead of broken-hearted fear and anxiety. Good, healthy acceptance doesn't mean just ignoring a problem, but it means ignoring or letting go of the negativity. I want to share with you a story that there are a lot of stories that have been circulating on Facebook and social media and all various other places, in person as well. This is a story, reflection, I would say, from a friend of mine named Mandy. Mandy lost her husband 6 years ago in 2014 from a massive heart attack. You can see in this picture, if you can zoom in on it, she's sitting on a park bench in memory of her husband. And she makes these reflections about physical distancing, which a lot of us are, in different phases of acceptance about, and how long it might have to last. She says, just an observation I've been having recently. I've been dealing with physical distancing since 2014, 6 years. She says, I really hit the professional level in 2016 when my daughter went to college because my job involves animals and not people, walking dogs and other animals. There would be times when a week or so would go by without physically being near another human being. So dealing with feelings that accompany the current restrictions are not new to me. And then she comments about some of the things that she's learned so far. I've spent time evaluating my life and my ideas about what makes me happy. I've refined my concepts of family and relationship. I've looked at the importance or value of my job in my life. I've been exploring myself so that I can help bring contentment to being alone. Knowing that I am with others, I can take that knowledge to deepen my life and my relationships, to deepen the why of things that fill our lives, and adjust accordingly. And then she finishes with this. So just a reminder, when all of this is over, this social distancing, that there may be others in your community that don't have a choice, perhaps because of their limited mobility or their relationship status or their health or family scattered across the country. These people are dealing with physical distancing every day, regardless of any pandemic. May we all survive this time and come out of it a bit more compassionately aware of ourselves and our neighbor. Thank you, Mandy, for sharing that with us. And I just want to conclude by emphasizing these ideas that were in the quotation that from the Arcana Celestia from Swedenborg that Ken read earlier, that trust in God includes these kinds of things. Being concerned and yet being unconcerned, above the concern. In other words, being practically minded for a problem to be solved and yet above the anxiety. Not worried, even-tempered and content. knowing that all things are moving toward happiness. That's a difficult one, but in a grand scheme of things, the Lord is constantly trying to bring good out of everything and lead us all towards happiness. So I encourage you to practice acceptance. And today I have our card deck here, this deck of 52 tasks that we've been working on to choose joy. And the specific one that I want to encourage you to think about is task number 25, which I'll put up on the screen here, called Accepting What Is, or Practice Acceptance. It says, when you find yourself reacting negatively to something, ask yourself, is this something that I can or should change? If the answer is no, just let go and accept it. Acceptance, being accepted and acceptable, these are very important basic heart hungers. And from birth and throughout all our lives, there's so many questions that we go through asking about acceptance and what's acceptable. But this is one way to deal with those questions, especially around the negativity that you can let go of. This week, notice any struggle you have with acceptance and ask, how can this be a learning experience to help me grow spiritually? I'm going to just show you the website to go to if you'd like to read a little bit more about this particular task, choosejoynow.org. And you can look for task number 25 and then see a printout of the task and a description of the ideas behind it. I'm going to leave this slide up for the moment so that you can read it or think about it. But now I have a special additional thing to introduce, which is a meditation, guided meditation, which Kelly Woofenden will do for us. I'm going to call her because she is also sheltering in place at home. And now we've got her on the speaker, and Kelly's going to guide us through a meditation. I'm going to sit and just hold the mic up to the phone while she does that. Are you ready, Kelly? Okay, good.
Practice acceptance. In this guided imagery, I invite you to practice accepting what you cannot change. First, let's do a quick breathing exercise. Breathe in life-giving energy. Breathe out tension and stress. Breathe in life-giving energy. Breathe out tension and stress. Now, bring your mind to a challenge that you are having negative reactions about. It could be something from the past or something very current. It could even be something that hasn't happened yet, but you're already having negative feelings and thoughts about it. See this challenge as clearly as you can. This thing that seems to be causing you to have negative reaction. In everyday life challenge, there are some things that we either cannot change or should not change. Things that are out of our control. Things that are none of our business. Ideas or feelings we don't like that are inside other people. We even imagine that these things cause our negativity. What is it about your challenge that you cannot or should not change? Try to identify it, name it, and see it for what it is. you to imagine your two hands together, cupped in such a way to hold something very safely and carefully. If you want, you can actually take your two hands and gently hold them in front of you, touching them together as if to hold something very safely and carefully. Imagine the Lord God is now with you, in a human form, sitting with you, sitting in front of you, facing you with loving eyes, looking at your two cupped hands together. Imagine the Lord God gently, lovingly reaches out his two cupped hands to yours. He signals you to put your hands into his. Feel the strength and gentleness of his hands. He is carefully holding your hands, supporting them, adding his spirit and life, giving your hands strength and gentleness. Now remember that challenge and the thing about it that you cannot or should not change. In your mind, allow that thing with all its negativity to harmlessly come to rest in these four cupped hands for a moment. The power of the Lord's hands will protect you. Just let it be there. Accept it. It is what it is. Then, gradually drop that thing from your hands, that challenge you cannot change. Drop it right into the Lord's hands and draw your two hands away. You are now done with it. It cannot hurt you or cause you negative feelings. You have accepted it for what it is and given it over to the Lord. Since you cannot or should not change it, the Lord will now take care of it. You might say to yourself, Lord, I let it go. I released it into your wise and loving hands. I accept what it is and give it to your care. I let go. I release. I accept. Relax. Breathe. Acceptance gives me relief. Relief from confusion and fear. Letting go gives me hope. Hope that I can change myself. I know that I am a spiritual being from the freedom to rise above my spiritual circumstances. I let go of attachment to things I cannot change. I accept the power from the Lord to change the things I can. Take a moment to breathe, relax, and allow yourself to feel the feelings of peace in your heart. Now, come back fully into your mind and body.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Kelly, for your beautiful guided meditation. And now, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And we'll sing a beautiful song now, also by Dick and Lee, called Peace.
Rising of the sun, peace in the movement of the clouds, peace in the falling of the rain, peace be to you, peace in the starting of your day, in the beating of your heart, peace as you gently go to sleep, peace be to you. Peace in the love of our Creator, peace in the happiness it brings, peace as we are gathered here together,